At my age, with no position of responsibility, someone as incompetent as you is not needed in our company. I have prepared a termination letter. We will provide severance. Pack your things and leave immediately. The president's abusive tirade echoed through the office. Silently enduring the president's harsh words, arguing with such a person seemed futile. Understood. I'm terminated, I calmly stated. Quickly gathering my belongings, I left the office. To an outsider, I might have appeared defeated, a loser at the mercy of the president. However, I had already recognized her vulnerability. My name is Caroline. At 48 years old, most women my age are married with grown children or even becoming grandmothers. Yet I remain single. I've had my share of romantic relationships, but marriage never quite happened. Not that I lacked the desire, but with a fulfilling job and wonderful colleagues, I was content. A drastic change occurred a few months ago. The company, a family-run business, had always been led by the chairman's relatives. The chairman's son, daughter, and their spouses held executive roles, fostering a tight-knit company culture. This didn't mean non-relatives were mistreated. On the contrary, there were opportunities for advancement. The chairman's charismatic leadership kept us united, and we had no major complaints. The bond among colleagues was strong, and we worked together daily with a shared purpose. However, when the chairman passed away suddenly, his son took over as chairman, and the company faced an unexpected turn. The new president was Helena, the chairman's daughter. Previously unknown to the company, many of us were surprised by her appointment. Yet we learned she had a successful track record at a top-tier company, which somewhat justified the decision. At 38, Helena was also single, prompting speculation among colleagues about her character. Perhaps a dedicated career woman or a tough, cold executive. However, her appearance at the inauguration was surprising. She resembled more of a club hostess with revealing attire and loud accessories. Her strong perfume lingered in the air, causing many to grimace. Her speech, influenced by her appearance, felt shallow, lacking commitment and passion for the company, leaving me uneasy. However, worrying wouldn't change things. Focusing on my work, I tried to move past the inauguration's aftermath and settled into my tasks. Yet Helena's unexpected visit to our department soon after heightened tensions. Ignoring everyone else, she zeroed in on Cecil, a colleague, making an announcement. "I like you. You stood out at the ceremony earlier, Cecil." "Such a cute name," Helena said, her voice cutting through the stunned silence. "How about joining me for lunch to celebrate my appointment?" Cecil turned pale, frozen in place, as did everyone else in the room. The atmosphere was tense with disbelief at what the president was suggesting. "Don't look so surprised," Helena continued casually. "I find being invited by the president quite endearing." She reached for Cecil's arm, clearly intending to leave immediately. Cecil managed to interject, his voice strained. "Please wait. I appreciate that offer, but I have urgent work to finish this morning. Could we possibly wait until break time? It's barely past 10 a.m. Helena's expression hardened slightly. "Is your work truly that urgent? If so, someone else can handle it. Lunch with the president is a far more valuable use of your time. I'll teach you what to prioritize," she insisted, gently pushing Cecil along despite his reluctance. When they returned hours later, it was well past 2 p.m. Cecil, 38 years old, divorced for a few years and now single, was admired for his refined looks that seemed to improve with age. Many female colleagues harbored secret crushes on him, celebrating his return to the dating scene after his divorce. While Helena's fondness for Cecil might have been understandable, her behavior was unbecoming of a president. The day's events revealed more about Helena's true character than anyone expected. To make up for the morning disruption, Cecil ended up working late, a consequence of Helena's actions that benefited no one. "Cecil, I've reserved a wonderful French restaurant for us today, the one with the chef I mentioned before. We better hurry or we'll be late," Helena announced, appearing frequently and forcefully to whisk Cecil away for lengthy lunches. "Helena, I appreciate the gesture, but I really need to focus on my work right now," Cecil replied politely, attempting to maintain his composure despite the disruption. As this became a regular occurrence, Helena would often occupy the seat beside Cecil, disrupting his workflow with her chatter. Colleagues displaced by Helena struggled to complete their tasks, often resorting to overtime. Gradually, a simmering discontent grew among the staff towards Helena. While no one dared to voice their frustrations openly, it was clear that many shared the same sentiment. What exactly does Helena perform her presidential duties? It seems like she's not taking her job seriously at all, murmured a colleague with a skeptical glance towards Helena's office. I found myself busy helping Cecil and others with their work in overtime. One day, while assisting Cecil, I tried to lighten the mood. Cecil, you've really been put through the ringer. It's tough being targeted by the wrong person, I remarked sympathetically. Cecil responded apologetically, I'm so sorry for causing everyone trouble. I really appreciate your help, Caroline, especially since you have your own workload to manage. You don't need to apologize for anything. It's all because of that out-of-touch president. Honestly, what was the chairman thinking making Helena president? I joked, sticking out my tongue playfully. Cecil managed a weak smile, the first I'd seen from him in a while. I noticed that smiles had become rare in our department lately, and the weight of these days lingered heavily on my mind. Determined to break the cycle, I decided to seek advice from Carl, the chairman, and Helena's father. When I first joined the company, Carl was the executive vice president, and we occasionally had chats. Now, as chairman, our interactions had ceased, but I boldly went to see him to discuss Helena's problematic behavior. Knowing it might be impertinent, I hoped he would understand the employees' struggles. Carl, a dignified man and son of the previous revered chairman, responded dismissively. I'm not here to listen to such complaints. You are to follow President Helena's lead, work for the company, and earn your salary. That's all. It's simple, he said curtly, sending me away. Disappointed and furious, I realized Carl, who had appointed Helena as president, was just another fool. The next day, Helena came again to invite Cecil to lunch, but our department was bustling with a crucial project deadline. Amidst the tense atmosphere, Helena's presence only fueled irritation, and some of my colleagues couldn't hide their annoyance. I'm sorry, Helena. I really can't leave my work today. Could you perhaps dine alone? Cecil tried to decline politely. Helena insisted, it's fine, someone else will cover for you. Hey, you there, take over Cecil's work. Unbelievably, Helena approached me next, saying, right now, both Cecil and I are swamped with work. No one in the department has the capacity to take on additional tasks. I'm sorry, but that's not possible, I firmly replied, meeting Helena's wide-eyed disbelief. Despite momentarily faltering under Helena's stern gaze, I knew I had to speak up. I said it's not possible. Cecil's tasks today are critical, and I have a pile of my own work to complete. Taking on Cecil's responsibilities is simply out of the question, I asserted firmly. Every time you pull Cecil away, our department's progress stalls, significantly affecting the company's performance. As president, you must be aware of this. We're receiving complaints about poor responsiveness from clients, and our credibility is suffering. If this continues, we'll be overtaken by our competitors. I continued, venting my frustrations. There was no turning back now. Do you even know who you're talking to? You know what happens when you speak against the president, right? Helena's voice, so different from the sweet tone she used with Cecil, was filled with intimidation as she retorted. I'm speaking out of concern for the company. We're all striving to improve performance. I can't comply with actions that will hinder our success. We need Cecil at his desk right now, I insisted, choosing my words carefully, mindful that she was still the president. Is that all you have to say? I'm shocked to find such a lowly employee among us, Helena sneered, snatching my employee badge to read my name. Caroline, huh? It figures you'd say such vulgar things. You're going to regret what you did today. With a sudden change in tone, Helena turned sweetly to Cecil, saying, Cecil, let's try again tomorrow. I'll book an Italian place. My mood's been spoiled by this silly little scene. With a fluttering wave, she left the department. Applause erupted around me as colleagues praised me, commenting on how refreshing and courageous it was to speak up. But I did feel relieved. Helena's words weighed heavily on me. I knew this wouldn't end without repercussions, Cecil said, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Caroline, are you okay? His concern was evident, and it warmed my heart. Are you okay, Caroline? I know you spoke up for all of us, but now you're in the president's sights. I'm on your side, though. If anything happens, I'll be here to protect you, he reassured me with strength in his voice. His strong reassurance lightened my heart slightly, and I felt grateful for such a supportive colleague. With these colleagues by my side, I felt ready to face whatever might come next. However, Helena's retaliation came sooner and more straightforwardly than I expected. She showed up in our department the very next day with a harsh tone and words that cut deep. You, at your age, with no significant position, not proficient at work, just getting older and more out of sight. Helena began sharply. How dare you talk back to me? Someone who has remained a mere employee all these years is not needed in this company. Frankly, you're an eyesore. You're fired as of today. Pack your things and leave. I was astounded by the abrupt and harsh dismissal. Fired? I echoed in disbelief. With rough breath, Helena pulled out a piece of paper. Yes, but it's not wrongful termination. Don't bother suing. Here's your termination letter, and we'll even pay severance. Now, hurry up and leave, she commanded dismissively. That's too much, President Helena. Caroline is indispensable to this company. Cecil stepped forward, fists clenched in determination. Helena scoffed, dismissing Cecil's stance. Cecil, you're mistaken if you think it's wise to side with such an incompetent woman. It seems you've been influenced by her because you've worked together for too long. How pitiful. She's a detriment to this company, and it's only right she's fired. I stood silently, absorbing Helena's verbal abuse. Arguing with someone like her was futile. If you say my presence is detrimental to the company, then I must accept my dismissal, I replied calmly. Quickly packing my belongings, I left the office. Though I couldn't suppress my intense anger, I was determined not to let this end here. I had already identified Helena's weakness. The next day, I welcomed a refreshing morning, had breakfast, and cleaned my house. Glancing at the clock as it struck 10 a.m., my phone rang. The company's number flashed on the screen. The caller was easy to guess. It must be Helena. Slowly, I answered. Caroline. Oh, thank goodness you picked up. Listen, about the firing yesterday, it was just a joke. I never imagined you'd take it seriously and actually not show up today. I'll overlook your tardiness, so please come to the office as usual. Helena spoke in the same controlling tone she used with Cecil. You're so honest, Caroline, to take such a joke seriously. Helena's voice quivered slightly. It wasn't a joke. I have the signed termination letter. Does the company sign such things as a joke? If so, that's terribly irresponsible. I began firmly, staring directly at Helena. A president who flirts with male employees and publicly humiliates an employee is disgraceful. I want nothing more to do with such a company. Helena was speechless at my words, so I pressed further. I know everything that happened this morning in the office and that you come crying to me for help. I heard all about it from Cecil. Today was an especially important day for presenting our company's best product to a crucial client. Success would significantly boost our company, while failure would allow competitors to leapfrog us to industry leadership. Even Helena must have recognized this importance, attending the morning meeting to motivate everyone. She asked who was in charge of the presentation, but no one came forward, and the room fell silent. Of course, I was the presenter. When Helena realized this, she panicked. She asked if anyone else could handle the responsibility, but all she found were resignation letters from all employees upon hearing of my dismissal. Everyone had had enough of the company. Please, if you're there, Caroline, the presentation can still go ahead. We don't have much time before the meeting with the client. I'll double your salary and you'll be treated as a director. Please come back, Helena pleaded hysterically, almost incomprehensibly. Unfortunately, I have no intention of returning. Please handle it yourself. As president, you haven't worked properly and have been chasing employees around, decreasing performance. I don't think you have the capacity to manage it, I said firmly before hanging up. I dismissed her further calls without hesitation. It would be interesting to see how she managed alone. That evening, Helena and Carl came to my house. As I cautiously opened the door, Helena began, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive us, they pleaded tearfully. Apparently, the presentation had been a disaster from the moment Helena arrived alone. The client must have been skeptical, and just minutes into the presentation, they stormed out, disgusted with Helena's incompetence. They said they'd reconsider if you were involved. Caroline, please, for the company's sake, come back, Helena pleaded. My anger erupted. For the company? How can you say that? You've disrupted employees' work, fired me for speaking up, and caused everyone to turn against you due to your arrogance. This is the result of your actions. Please leave. As I attempted to close the door, Helena sprang up. It's all because you interfered with my lunches with Cecil, embarrassing me in front of everyone. That's why I fired you. You got in the way of my lunches with Cecil. That's all it was. What a childish notion. I knew it, but hearing it directly from her made me feel sick. I'm begging you to come back. Suddenly, Helena lunged at me but was swiftly stopped by Cecil, who had come out of concern. Enough, please. I came because I was worried about Caroline, and I can't believe it's come to this, Cecil said, surprising both Helena and me. Helena, let me make it clear. Dining or talking with you has been nothing but a pain because I have someone I like. I've told you many times, but you only looked at my appearance and never listened, Cecil confessed, leaving Helena paralyzed. Caroline and the other employees who resigned have already found new jobs. A competing company looking to expand was thrilled to hire us all. Everyone is talented and they were delighted, I interjected firmly. Caroline and I are not coming back. You're the reason she was unfairly thrown out of the company. Please don't show up in front of us again. If you don't leave, we'll call the police. Helena tried to say something but was pulled away by Carl, who was also pale. He was the fool who appointed Helena president and dismissed my desperate pleas. There was no room for sympathy without supporting employees, and missing the great opportunity, the company's reputation plummeted, leading to bankruptcy. I am sorry to the wonderful predecessor, but once the predecessor was gone, it was only a matter of time before it came to this, I concluded sadly. Helena and Carl disappeared, buried under immense debt, living lives I don't even want to imagine. Meanwhile, Cecil and I began dating. The confession that I was the person he cared for came as a sweet surprise after years of working together. Our relationship evolved from trusted colleagues to partners. I'm grateful I didn't rush into marriage when I was younger, as I've now found the best partner later in life. Life is unpredictable. Maybe Cecil and I will get married. That's what I've been contemplating recently.